Hey, good evening. How are you? The other day I was eating fruit roll up. My daughter had a birthday, so we bought her some fruit roll up as part of her package of goodies. And so she didn't know I was eating her fruit roll up. I just snatched some. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but that's my little bit. Like, I love fruit roll up. That's my what is it? Guilty pleasure. Anyway, so in the beginning when I opened the fruit roll up and I was eating it, it was my favorite thing. You look at it, it's big, it's chunky, and you're like, I have a lot of it, and I'm gonna enjoy it. So as you rip off the first piece, you're really craving it and enjoying it, right? And as you get through the fruit roll up, I don't know if any of you have eaten fruit roll up ever, but it goes by pretty fast. And before you know it, you have just one piece left, right? That last piece that kind of rolls in. And when I get to that piece, I'm usually like, how'd I get this fast so far at the end? And I always say to myself, I don't know if you have this, but I'm gonna cherish this piece, really cherish it. And I wanna, eat it with like the most intention. Hi guys, who's coming in? And it got me thinking about life. Life to me is like fruit roll up in time, right? So I think, and I worked on the oncology unit at my hospital, I think people who understand the value of time, like people who know their time is like, they have a little bit of fruit roll up left, they really, really cherish it, right? They understand that time. Be connected to your family when they're with you, right? They don't spend time just consuming the fruit roll up as fast as they can and just not even thinking about it. They're in that moment. And meanwhile, me, I'm just like, whatever, life is happening and I'm just moving through it. And unfortunately, we don't know how much fruit roll up we have in life. We don't know how quickly it's gonna end. I think the problem for a lot of us is we think we have a lot, and that's why we're just not focused on cherishing each piece that we put in our mouth. Because if I knew that I had just one piece, that this is my last piece every time I put it in my mouth, I would value it, I would cherish it, I would enjoy it more. I think that when my daughter asked me today, what are you going to talk about? She asked me if I'm going to do a live. I said, I don't know, what do you want me to talk about? Because she never asked me if I do. She said, I want you to talk about time with children and how, she's 8 years old. She just turned 8. So she says to me, I want you to talk about spending time with your children, Mom, because the way you spend time with your children, that's the way your children are going to spend time with you. It's the way you treat other people, that's how they treat you. And so if you're on your phone because you don't have time for your kids, guys, she's educating me. She's my biggest proponent of no Facebook at home, no social media at home, and I'm so grateful for her. But she understands that piece of fruit roll up, that valuing that time with your kids and your parents. And I'm so grateful. I think a lot of us have these moments where like we can choose to enjoy it, or we just kind of get lost in the moment of being on the phone and being distracted. I was researching this topic, and there's this whole concept called the digital diet. Has anyone heard of this? The digital diet? I was trying to find an app where I could control my Facebook and digital media exposure and like attention. I couldn't find it. I don't know if anyone has any app that they use. Please let me know. Okay, so what I want to talk about is how to help ourselves, because I'm helping myself, and I would appreciate anybody's comments if they have any clues on how to do this. How to enjoy each piece of your life, especially not, especially when with your kids, not to be on social media. Okay, so the first thing I read was to have a digital diet, which is just like you don't consume all the junk food in your life, you don't consume all the social media in your life by constantly exposing yourself to everything that that's clicking in your screen, everything that you, all the, what is it called, the notifications everywhere. So I'm gonna do that, and I encourage you all, if you want to try with me, to do it. Today I turned off my phone when we went for a walk. Instead of putting it on silent, I just completely shut it down, which was a big step for me because I am addicted. I know that because when I look at it, I want to know who's posting what. I want to see what notifications I have. I know I have a problem. The first step to fixing the problem is to recognizing why that's important for you to fix. It's not so much to know that you have a problem, which is great and important, but I think the step above that is to recognize why that's important for you. So I made a few points on why that's important for me. Number one, because our kids really only have one childhood. This is it. We're given these kids by God, and they only have this one childhood with us. So let's make it authentic. Number two, when people know they have less life together, they value the time that they have together. So really, we don't really know how much time we do have. Just this past week, I had a family emergency, and kind of jolted me into perspective on how quick people can leave us. You know, my brother passed away a few years ago. That kind of put things in perspective, that, you know, life is fleeting and it's limited. And no one ever dies saying, I wish I had more time on social media or Facebook or whatever. Nobody cares in the end, right? But yet we spend so much of our time being on the social media, like apps and whatever. And I made a diagram for myself. I want to share it with you. This is your social media and your authentic human interaction. What you take from one section, automatically you have less of it in the other section, right? So you have just this amount, this full circle. And if you use social media this much, then you have this much attention to the other human interaction. If you use it this much or this much, you have less. People don't realize that, including me, that when you're interacting with someone, we're so focused on multitasking. I can listen to you and I can type and talk at the same time. But really we can't really do that. It's not effective. And they even have a name for it. It's called phubbing. I don't know, has anyone ever heard of this? It's when you snub somebody with your phone. So what ends up happening, you use your phone while someone's talking with you, and they whip out their phone because they're also trying to kind of mimic that social interaction and feel less offended, because it's offensive these days when you, unfortunately, when you look at the phone and there's someone talking with you. So when you know why you want to get healthier with your diet, you will. When you're clear about your why, you can do almost anyhow. And I read that in that book by Viktor Frankl, who is a concentration camp survivor and a psychiatrist. And he said the way he survived through this whole experience was he knew why he wanted to live. So he was able to go through almost any how can he live, like anyhow. The same thing with us. If we know why we want to get off social media, we will know how, we will be willing to do anyhow. Whatever that takes, even though it's hard, even though it's addictive, even though it feels kind of withdrawal, you get withdrawal symptoms from it. If you feel better after, you feel liberated after a while, but initially you feel like constricted and tense initially. Okay, so even the Bible, and I'm going to end with this, even the Bible says rest, take time to unplug and restore your thoughts, restore your connection with your family. Why? Because God rested on the seventh day. For 6 days he worked and he rested on the seventh day. And he's asking of us to do the same thing. So I want to just make that comment, and I heard it in a TED Talk where they actually promoted 1 day a week of 24 hours of no cell phone use. I mean, even if you don't observe the Sabbath, try it, where you just unplug from social media for one day, a week, completely unplug, maybe even just unplug from your phone, because that's something that we do on the Sabbath, right? We completely unplug from the cell phone, from all electronic things, and we just remember, we get back to basics, and you remember what the quality is of life between people, because really that's authentically what you end up wanting in life. So thank you for listening to my rant on this, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and ultimately I hope you enjoy every piece of your fruit roll-up and every piece of your life where you enjoy it, and I hope you treat each piece like it's your last, so you understand its value. All right, my friends, have a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow, or no, next week. Okay, bye.